There's a difference between what major brands are telling us and the evidence that we find on the dark web. If you have any kind of digital footprint, please stay tuned because this is going to be a great episode. Welcome back to episode 2 of RepSec Wednesdays, the one place where we break down cybersecurity news that happened throughout the week and translate them to you so you can use it within your daily lives, especially when it comes to reputation, social media, digital executive protection, or anything like that. Today, we'll be breaking down 3 stories that every high-value individual, top executive, and brand leader absolutely needs to understand. Our first story of the day will be the McGraw Hill extortion attempt, where they claim that a Salesforce misconfiguration led to the leakage of only one web page, but ended up being 400 gigabytes of personal identifiable information. Our second story of the day will be the Microsoft device code alert, where AI-powered phishing no longer needs your password to access your account. Our third story is a Doublespeed hack, where an army of AI influencers turn against their creators. This is not just news, it's a blueprint. Stay tuned. All right, now let's jump into today's first story, which is the McGraw Hill incident. So McGraw Hill is a titan within the education space, and they just reported that they were breached by a cybercriminal group called Shiny Hunters that are well known for extorting large companies due to data breaches. So the main thing about this story that I want to highlight, according to all these awesome articles from eSecurity Planet, Bleeping Computer, and TechRay.pro. So basically, McGraw Hill's first stance was that they framed it as a breach due to a Salesforce misconfiguration, basically a technical hiccup that led to a breach of one singular web page. But Shiny Hunters had a different narrative. They said that we actually did breach you and we did get personal identifiable information. And as we see here, they launched a dark web portal specifically to call out the brand, publicly disputing the company's claims regarding the severity and the type of breach that actually occurred. And this situation typically brings up what we call a trust gap. And a trust gap is when the public has to make a choice between what the brand is saying and what the hackers are saying themselves. And unfortunately for McGraw Hill, the proof is on the dark web, with 100 gigabytes worth of information being leaked online that were actually PII, or personally identifiable information. So looking at how they responded to this, it didn't look good. But let's get into a little bit of the technicals. A misconfiguration is not a sophisticated external bypass. It's a choice. Basically, you're leaving the door unlocked, and a lot of people see it as a set it and forget it, especially for their SaaS platforms or system as a service. And we could see that obviously it is a major brand liability, even with a big, highly guarded brand like Salesforce or McGraw Hill themselves. When you deploy these, you need to verify the security settings. In 2026, in the digital landscape, a technical oversight is viewed by the public as a reputation liability. We didn't check is not going to fly when a bunch of parents are wondering why McGraw Hill let their payment information or personally identifiable information get leaked on the internet. So the key takeaways I want all my organizations, brands to hear is that especially for your software as a service security, your CRMs, marketing tools, cloud storage are only as secure as your last configuration audit. Next thing is accountability. You must know, own, and regularly audit your configurations. Do not set it and forget it. The only prevention for this is do not wait for the breach to happen. Make sure your back door is locked before you leave the house. All right, let's move on to segment 2 with the Microsoft Code Alert incident. So right now we have 2 articles, one from Proofpoint and a couple of citations from Microsoft and Proofpoint on the right of the screen. So basically what's going on is this is a highly personal attack, and it's targeting high profile executives and administrators for different companies. And doesn't just target the data, it's actually trying to assume your identity within your system if you use Microsoft. So the way that this attack works is using the device code mechanism. You receive a standard looking Microsoft authentication font asking for a short verification code. So I used to work at a company that was a Microsoft house, and I had to do this a million times a day. when you use a little tablet, your phone, your laptop, you use a new tablet, you upgrade your phone, it can be a headache sometimes. And that's called two-factor authentication with the team. So with this attack, it sends you that authentication prompt, but it's actually not from Microsoft itself. The branding and the subdomain appear legitimate, mimicking a routine flow that you performed hundreds of times, like I said. And once you enter that code, you actually send that code to the attackers themselves, which they in turn use to log in as you without needing your password at all. So the reason why this attack is so important is because traditional security fails. And it fails at stopping this because attackers use AI to overlay perfect replicas of login pages onto real legitimate subdomains of trusted brands. That means that they're able to make it look, even to the computer itself, that it's legitimate. And because the domain itself is trusted, it bypasses reputation-based security filters that most systems already utilize. And the attack intercepts a legitimate device code flow. Again, that two-factor authentication fatigue is real and renders that traditional credential protection useless completely. And the impact of a hijacked identity is much worse than taking out data. It's about them sending memos to the board. They can send emails out. They can request that employees do certain things like financial transactions that may appear just like you do on the day-to-day, and they would think that it's actually you, when in reality, it's an attacker pretending to. So the organization doesn't see a breach at first because, again, the system's not picking it up. If you're not being attentive, or maybe you're on vacation, you won't pick it up, which means that your employees won't be able to pick it up in time before damage is done. The damage to the reputation of this is real as well, because this is an executive identity theft that weaponizes the weight of your position and the trust that you built with your employees over the years and uses it against your company. There's a non-negotiable rule when it comes to this, and it's that if you did not personally initiate a device login within the last 5 seconds, it probably didn't come from you if you're using Microsoft Suite as your identity access management system. So any code request that is initiated not by you, automatically ignored. And what's crazy about this attack, again, it may look exactly like a legitimate request, and it even pulls your systems. So do not respond to any prompts that were not initiated by you trying to log in to one of your devices. Time for our last story with the Doublespeed hack, which is a puppet master risk. So here on our slide deck, we see 2 stories, one from the author Rafael Cahan, and on the right, we see a couple of sources from LinkedIn articles. So basically what happened was a startup called Doublespeed operates what's called phone farms, which are physical arrays of smartphones that are all managing over 1,000 AI influencers, or influencers that are not real. They're all AI generated, and they're all on TikTok simultaneously. So the attack that occurred was a hacker accessed that centralized backend and attempted to force all 1,000 plus AI influencers into a coordinated attack against the venture capital firm that actually funded them. So the puppet master principle that we're talking about here is that this event exposes the hidden vulnerability for most modern brands. And it's that when you use these third-party tools to manage your voice, you create a centralized point of failure. So these vulnerable systems have inherent risks that applies to any platform that manages your digital presence. And this could include social media automation, scheduling tools, content management systems or CMS, AI writing tools that post on your behalf, and even analytics connected brand accounts. So the immediate consequences that you'll suffer from this is that if a centralized backend is breached, you lose control of your digital voice. So that voice is going to be weaponized against you by attackers that know how to access those types of systems. And the reputational risk transfer that your brand has, the problem is that your brand is only as secure as the third-party platforms that you use. So their security posture is your reputational risk, and their technical negligence is your PR night. So be careful about who you do business with. So the key lessons I want my brand leaders to learn is that identify the keys or auditing who and what has administrative access to your digital persona online. Is it centralized? Do you have an assistant using it? Should you probably have yourself do it? These are questions that you need to ask. Assess worthiness. So before centralizing your voice through a platform, you need to make sure that it has really good security standards because you are placing your trust into that platform that you're utilizing. And finally, ownership. At the end of the day, when it comes to your followers, your consumers, your constituents, your customers, when a security breach happens, you're not able to blame the tool. Inherently, you're going to take the blame for whatever happens. You will have that ultimate responsibility. So make sure that you're doing your due diligence when selecting these types of products to manage your voice. Let me bring all three of these stories together because when you put them side by side, they're all telling you the same thing, just in 3 different languages. With McGraw Hill, the platforms that you trust are only as secure as the attention that you give. With the Microsoft Device Code Alert, your authority is an asset, and like any valuable asset, it can't be stolen from you if you're not vigilant about how you use it. And for the Doublespeed hack, your digital voice is only truly yours if the system holding it is truly secure. Taken all together, these stories represent what I believe is the defining reputational challenge of this era. We're living in a moment where the most dangerous threats to your brand are not dramatic. They're not obvious. They're quiet. They operate through familiarity, through the workflows you trust, the platforms you delegated to, and the systems you set up and just stop thinking about. You can recover financially. You can rebuild operationally, but the erosion of trust, the real deep public trust that you've been spending years trying to cultivate, is a wound that takes very long to heal, and in some cases, it just never does. Let's bring all three of these stories together. At the end of the day, due diligence is key when trying to protect your digital assets. If you like today's video, please like and subscribe, and scan that QR code to take our free self-assessment to see how secure you are. Thank you so much, and take care.